Stop. Think back to the closest call you've ever had. Maybe it was a car that swerved inches from your bumper. Maybe it was a weird fever when you were a kid. Maybe you slipped on the stairs and caught the railing at the last second. Your heart hammered. You laughed it off. You said, "Wow, I was lucky." Wrong. You weren't lucky. I'm going to tell you something that sounds insane, but the math says it's true. In that moment, when the car swerved, you didn't survive. The car hit you. You died. The screen went black. But here you are, watching this video, breathing. How is that possible? Because death is a spectator sport. It happens to other people. It happens in the news. But from your perspective, from behind your eyes, death might be mathematically impossible. This isn't spiritual mumbo-jumbo. This is hard quantum mechanics. There is a version of physics called the many worlds interpretation that suggests you have already died 1,000 times in 1,000 different universes. But your consciousness, it has nowhere else to go but the timeline where you survive. Every single time, you are trapped in life. If you want to know why you're still here and the terrifying price you pay for it, you need to understand how the universe splits. Let me show you. Everyone knows the cat, Schrodinger's famous cat. You lock it in a steel box with a vial of poison. A radioactive atom decays, breaks the vial, and kills the cat. The standard physics class explanation goes like this. Until you open the box to check, the atom has both decayed and not decayed. So the cat is both dead and alive. It is in a state of superposition. We nod, we write it down on the exam, we treat it like a weird philosophical joke. Stop. It's not a joke. And the problem with that example is that you are looking at the box from the outside. You are the scientist holding the clipboard. Here is the terrifying upgrade. Throw away the cat. Throw away the poison. Put yourself in the box. This is a thought experiment called quantum suicide, and it's the only way to really understand why you might be immortal. Imagine you build a machine. It's a gun pointed at your head, but the trigger isn't connected to a clock or a spring. It's connected to a quantum measurement device, like a spin detector for an electron. If the electron spins up, the gun fires. If the electron spins down, the gun clicks. Safe. According to quantum mechanics, until a measurement is made, the electron is spinning up and down simultaneously. Now, do this right now. Close your eyes. Imagine the cold metal of the barrel against your temple. The room is silent. You are sweating. You press the button. What happens? Common sense and your survival instinct screams that you have a 50-50 chance of dying. You think there is a 50% chance the screen goes black and the universe continues without you. Wrong. That is not what happens. Not according to the many worlds interpretation. See, when you press that button, the universe doesn't roll a dice. It splits. Think of a zipper opening up. In one branch of reality, the electron was spin up, the gun fired, there is a body in the chair, your family is crying, the police are taping off the room. It's a tragedy. But here is the question that breaks your brain. Are you in that branch? No, you can't be. You cannot experience a reality where you are dead. By definition, experience requires you to be alive. So where is your consciousness? It is forced, mathematically forced, to flow into the other branch, the branch where the electron was spun down. You press the button, you flinch, click, you breathe, you're alive. You think, wow, I got lucky. But remember, in the other universe, you are already dead. You just aren't there to notice it. So, what happens if you press the button again? Let's do it again. You press the button. Click. Safe. Again. You press it a third time. Click! By now you are shaking. In the outside world, in the classical world, the odds of surviving 3 coin flips in a row are 1 in 8, 12.5%. Not impossible. But let's say you do it 50 times, 50 clicks, 50 spins of the electron, 50 near-death experiences. This is where your intuition fails. In our normal world, the odds of surviving 50 rounds of a 50-50 game are basically 0. It's 1 in a quadrillion. But we are talking about the many worlds interpretation. This isn't just a theory some guy scribbled on a napkin. It was proposed by physicist Hugh Everett III in 1957 to solve the biggest problem in quantum mechanics. Everett said, "The waveform doesn't collapse." What does that mean? It means the universe never chooses. It never picks he lives or he dies. It does both, always. Think about a loaf of bread. Imagine the entire universe, all of space and time, is a giant loaf of bread. Every time a quantum event happens, like that electron spinning, you take a knife and slice the loaf in half. Slice. Now you have 2 loaves, 2 universes. In universe A, the gun went bang. In universe B, the gun went click. These 2 universes are equally real. They have the same mass, the same atoms, the same laws of physics. The only difference? In universe A, there is a corpse. In universe B, there is a very confused, very alive version of you. Now watch what this implies. If you are the person holding the gun, you are the observer. You are the camera recording the movie. Can a camera record a movie where the lens is shattered? No. Can your brain record a memory of not having a brain? No. So every time the universe slices, your consciousness, your self, can only ride the timeline where the brain is still intact. It's like a video game where you have infinite lives, but you don't respawn. You just never see the game over screen. The game just continues. So you press the button 50 times. In trillions and trillions of other universes, your funeral is happening right now. Mothers are grieving. News reporters are talking about the tragedy. The multiverse is literally littered with your corpses. But to you, you press the button, click. You press it again, click, again, click. To you, the gun seems broken. You start to think you are magic. You start to think you are blessed by God. You aren't. You are simply the victim of survivorship bias. We see survivorship bias all the time. Think of lottery winners. If you interview a lottery winner, they say, "I just had a feeling. I knew my numbers were lucky." Wrong. They weren't lucky. They were just the one person out of millions who happened to win. The millions of losers don't get interviewed. In quantum immortality, the losers are the dead versions of you in parallel universes. They can't be interviewed. They can't tell you, "Hey, don't press that button, it kills you," because they're gone. But wait, if this is true, if you can only experience the timeline where you survive, does that mean you can never die? Let's call this the consciousness camcorder. Imagine your entire life is being filmed by a single camera. That camera is your awareness. It records everything you see, hear, and feel. Now, imagine I take a sledgehammer and smash the camera into 1,000,000 pieces. Does the camera record blackness? No. Does it record nothing? No. It stops recording. Period. The movie ends. There is no footage of after. This is the key to quantum immortality. You cannot experience non-experience. If you are dead in a universe, your camcorder is broken there. It's not filming darkness. It's just gone. But remember the multiverse theory? Remember the loaf of bread? There are infinite copies of you, infinite camcorders. If 999,999,999 versions of you die in a freak accident, those cameras smash. They stop recording. But if one version survives, even by a fluke, even by a 1 in a trillion quantum tunneling event, that camera is still rolling. And here is the terrifying logic. Since you can only be the observer of a working camera, your consciousness will always find itself in the surviving timeline. It feels continuous. It feels like you just got lucky. But it's not luck. It's selection bias. Think about this. Have you ever woken up from a dream where you died? Right at the moment of impact, boom! You wake up in your bed, heart racing. What if you did die? What if, in that timeline, you crashed your car? Your family is mourning. The funeral is next week. But your consciousness, unable to process the end, simply snapped to the nearest available timeline where you woke up. It was just a dream, you say. Was it? There is no way to prove it wasn't a quantum jump. This leads us to a concept called subjective expectation. Max Tegmark, a famous cosmologist, talks about this. He says that you should expect to find yourself in a universe where you exist, no matter how unlikely that universe is. Even if the odds of survival are 0.00000000001%, even if a meteor is heading for Earth and wipes out 99.9% of humanity, if there is a single branch of the wave function where the meteor misses, or where you happen to be in a deep underground bunker, you will experience that branch. You will look around at the devastation and say, wow, how did I survive that? But to everyone else in the multiverse, you didn't. You are a statistic. You are dead. So survival isn't something you do. It's something you are trapped in. This is where the fun ends. Because if you follow this logic, if you really truly follow it, then suicide is impossible. Murder is impossible. Accidents are impossible. At least from your point of view. Let's go back to the gun. Let's look at the machine again. Let's go back to the gun. You are sitting in the chair. The quantum trigger is set. Remember, the universe splits every time the electron spins. Click, click, click. Your heart is pounding. You are terrified. Now imagine we do this 100 times. Statistically, the odds of this happening by pure luck are 1 in 1 billion, 267 billion, 650 million, 600 million, 228 billion, 229 million, 401 billion, 496 million, 703 million, 205,000, 376. That number is so big your brain can't even process it. It's more than the number of atoms in the observable universe. But here is the trick. In the vast majority of universes, in fact, in almost all of them, you are dead. Your family is burying you. Your friends are crying. The police are investigating. The news is reporting a tragic suicide. But to you, to the conscious observer inside your head, click, you are still here. Why? Because you cannot experience the universes where you are dead. By definition, a dead person has no experiences, no thoughts, no feelings. So the only universe you can possibly be aware of is the one where, against all odds, the gun misfired, or the quantum measurement was spin down every single time, or maybe the gun jammed, or the battery died, or an earthquake knocked the gun out of your hand. Whatever the reason, you survive. This is the Russian roulette machine, and it leads to the most disturbing realization of all. You are, effectively, immortal, but only from your own perspective. Think about what that feels like. Imagine being 150 years old. Everyone you know is dead. The world has changed. Your body is falling apart, but you are still alive. Why? Because in every universe where you died of a heart attack at 80, your consciousness ended. So you snapped to the timeline where the doctors saved you. In every universe where you died of cancer at 90, your consciousness ended. So you snapped to the timeline where the treatment worked. You become the oldest man alive, not because you are special, not because you have good genes, but because you are the only observer left in your own personal branch of reality. This is called quantum suicide, and it's not just a theory. Many physicists take this seriously. Max Tegmark once said, "If the many worlds interpretation is true, you will never die. You will just get infinitely old." Now hold on. This sounds like a superpower. I can't die. Awesome. Wrong. This is a curse. Because while you survive, everyone else around you is dying. To your family, you died. To your friends, you are gone. You are leaving behind a trail of grief in millions of parallel universes. You are abandoning loved ones in timelines you will never see again. And in your own timeline, you are watching them die, one by one. You become the last survivor of a reality that is crumbling around you. But there is a flaw in this logic, a big, ugly flaw that nobody likes to talk about. What if survival doesn't mean healthy? What if not dying is worse than death? We all know someone like this. Maybe it's you. They say things like, "I should be dead. I was driving home late. I fell asleep at the wheel. I woke up in a ditch, car totaled, but not a scratch on me. I had a weird lump. The doctor said it was nothing. 6 months later, it was stage 4, but somehow the chemo worked. The doctors called it a miracle. I was swimming in the ocean. A riptide pulled me under. I blacked out. I woke up on the beach, coughing up water." We call these miracles. We call them luck. We say God was watching over them. Stop. Think about the math again. In a multiverse where every possible outcome happens, there must be a version of you that survives every single close call. Statistically, 99.9% of the versions of you died in that car crash. 99.9% of the versions of you drowned in that riptide. But you, the consciousness experiencing this video right now, are by definition the 0.1%. You are the survivor. This is why we have so many near-death experience stories. People see a tunnel of light. They feel peace. They float above their bodies. And then, snap, they are back, in pain, in a hospital bed. What if they didn't come back? What if they died in that timeline and their consciousness simply slid into the nearest parallel universe where the heart monitor started beeping again? To the doctors in that room, it looked like a miracle. We lost him for 3 minutes, but he's back. To the doctors in the other universe, it was a tragedy. Time of death, 4:02 p.m. Now do this right now. Think of a celebrity who died young. Kurt Cobain, Amy Winehouse, Heath Ledger. In our universe, they are gone. We mourn them. But somewhere, in a branch of reality that split off years ago, they are still alive. They are making music. They are acting. They are old and gray. And to them, they might remember a close call, an overdose where they woke up in the ER, a car crash they walked away from. They think they got lucky. They think they survived. But we know the truth. They didn't survive here. They survived there. We are living in the timeline where they died, but they are living in the timeline where they lived. This implies something profound. You might be the only person in your universe who is truly immortal. Everyone else around you, your parents, your friends, your pets, they will eventually die in your timeline. You will attend their funerals, but you will never attend your own. Because the moment you die, the universe splits, and you go to the other side, the side where you wake up. But this isn't a gift, it's a trap, because there is a difference between alive and okay. And this is where the theory gets dark, really dark. So, you cannot die. Great, immortality, superpowers. Wrong. This is the most common misconception about quantum immortality. People think it means you stay young forever, or that you heal like Wolverine. No. The many worlds interpretation guarantees survival, not health. It guarantees that your consciousness continues, but it does not guarantee how it continues. Think about the car crash again. In 99% of universes, you die instantly. In 0.9% of universes, you survive but are paralyzed. In 0.09% of universes, you survive but have brain damage. In 0.009% of universes, you walk away without a scratch. Which universe do you end up in? Statistically, the one with the highest probability where you are still conscious. But here is the catch. As you get older, the probability of walking away without a scratch drops to 0. At 120 years old, your body is failing. Your organs are shutting down. The probability of you spontaneously becoming healthy again is basically 0. So the universe keeps splitting. In one branch, you die of heart failure. In another, you cling to life on a ventilator. Your consciousness can only experience the ventilator branch. So you stay there, trapped in a failing body. Then the ventilator fails. In one branch, you die. In another, the backup generator kicks in. You stay there. This is the entropy trap. You are forced to inhabit increasingly unlikely, increasingly painful realities just to keep the camcorder running. You become a statistical anomaly, a medical marvel, the man who refused to die. But you aren't refusing. You are begging for it. Imagine living to be 150, then 200, then 500. Your body is gone. You are a brain in a jar, or a consciousness uploaded to a computer, or a Boltzmann brain floating in the void. Because as long as there is a non-zero probability of consciousness continuing, you are stuck. You are the last observer at the end of time, watching the stars burn out, watching the galaxies drift away, and you are still there, thinking, aware. Because the math says you have to be. This is the terrifying catch. It's not immortality, it's quantum hell. And if you think this is just a theory, think again. There is a logical consequence to all of this that makes it even worse. Because if you are the center of your own universe, if you are the only one who can't die, then what are all these other people around you? Are they even real? Let's call this the solipsism trap. Solipsism is the idea that only your mind is sure to exist. Everyone else might be an illusion, a projection, a philosophical zombie. Now, throw quantum mechanics into the mix. Think about your best friend, your spouse, your child. In their universe, they are the observer, they are the camera. But in your universe, they are just another quantum object, like the electron, like the cat. They exist in a superposition of states until you interact with them. Here is the nightmare. If quantum immortality is true, then everyone you love is destined to die in your timeline. Why? Because entropy always wins. Bodies fail, accidents happen. And since your consciousness is anchored to your survival, you are forced to witness the deaths of everyone around you. Your parents, your friends, your children, your grandchildren. You will attend their funerals. You will mourn them. But they won't be there to mourn you, because you can never die. So you become the oldest being in the universe, not because you are special, but because you are the only one left who can observe. Imagine being the last human alive. The sun has expanded, the earth is scorched, the stars have faded, but you are still here. Maybe not as a human, maybe as a digital consciousness, maybe as a pattern of energy floating in the void. But you are still aware, because the probability of your consciousness ending is 0, because ending is not an experience. So you drift, alone, forever. This is the price of immortality. You trade death for eternal loneliness, and there is no way out, no exit door, no game over screen, just more time, more thoughts, more existence, forever. Now, take a breath. This sounds like a horror movie, and maybe it is. But there is one final twist, one final piece of physics that might save you from this nightmare. Because if the universe is infinite, if time is infinite, then what happens when you reach the end? Here is the final truth, the one that keeps physicists up at night. If quantum mechanics is right, if the wave function never collapses, then you aren't just a person living in the universe. You are the universe. Think about it. Physics says a reality doesn't exist until it is measured. It needs an observer. It needs a camera. That camera is you. If you die, the measurement stops. The universe dissolves back into a probability wave. So in a way, you have to survive, not because you are lucky, but because without you, there is no here to be experienced. You are holding up the sky. You are the atlas of your own reality. So next time you are afraid of death, remember, death is a spectator sport. It happens to other people. It happens in the history books. But to you, the one behind the eyes, there is no end. There is only the next moment, and the next, and the next. You are trapped in existence. So you might as well make it a good one, because the show goes on forever, and you have the best seat in the house. If you want to keep exploring the impossible with me in this timeline, hit that subscribe button, because here we are just getting started. I'll see you in the next one.